We're talking to Dr. LMadu, and he's talking about the African world and the scattering of Africans all over the world and some of the consequences of that scattering that has an impact upon their social, economic, and political situation. And of course, Dr. LMadu, let's continue our conversation.
Yeah, like I was saying, the common denominator, of these Africans in diaspora, wherever they are, is that they're discriminated against. They're always at the bottom of the ladder, politically, economically, and socially. So that's very important to know.
All right.
Even when they're in the majority, they're still, at the political and the low level of the political and social ladder. For example, in Jamaica, blacks are majority, predominate. 1% is about white, but they control the entire economy and even the political system. Yeah, the blacks vote, but the whites control the government. Yeah, I saw what happened when Mr. Michael Manley, who was a mulatto, after he left the prime ministership, and a black guy was to succeed him, Mr. Patterson, and they were asking, is he equal to the job or equal to the task? Okay, because of his skin color. Exactly, because of his skin color. In Guyana, the same thing. After independence, the British, handed over to a guy called Chedi Jagan, who was Indo-Guyanese from Indian stock. And the Indo-Guyanese has always discriminated against the Afro-Guyanese. So that's what happened. Then there were some riots and disturbances. Then when a black man called Robert Bonham took over, he started trying to entrench, black power and black rule, as an antidote to discrimination. But still, the economy is controlled by the Indo-Guyanese, and the white folks who live in Guyana, to the exclusion of the blacks who predominate in population. In Suriname, almost two decades ago, really, a guy called Lieutenant Colonel Bautuse, he took over the government by force, who was running a military government. He started carrying out some kind of genocide against the blacks who live in the country, in Suriname. So it's the same thing in most, Latin American countries. Africans, do the menial jobs, lack the education, and excluded from really anything other than cultural activities. Even the carnival. Yeah, even the carnival. For a long time it was banned officially. Yeah, blacks have to hide to do the carnival. Yeah, but when they saw that the carnival was of economic value, yeah, it brought in a lot of money, a lot of tourists and all this. Yeah, a lot of those countries legalized it. Like in Cuba, in Bahamas, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Brazil. It's official now. Because of the
economic impact
exactly, because of the economic impact that he brought. And those carnivals started as a cultural activity of Africans.
And they and the idea was to try to suppress that cultural activity.
Absolutely.
Black pride, as it might be called.
Absolutely. The idea was to suppress it. But when they saw that there's some economic value to having that festival, then they made it official. I mean, you can imagine how many millions the Brazilian government makes, during that festival in Rio. Yeah, and the Bahamas and Trinidad and Tobago and all that. Yeah, so it became, because of the monetary value, some to them. The same what they call the candombe dance, part of voodoo. Yeah, the government didn't like it, but when they saw that, it's of economic value, people come just to watch it from some places. They said, no problem, we make it official. So these are some of the, types of ways, try to suppress African culture in some of these places. But the good news is that in some of these countries, African culture thrives. In Brazil, for example, on the northeast coast, where Africans predominate, the people still speak some variation of African language, still wear African clothes, eat African food, and all that. The buildings are similar. So there's hope in some of those places. But the main problem is that of what I call political sensitivity.
Okay.
A lot of the black populations, they have not been highly politically sensitized.
Okay.
That is their right to demand changes.
Even though they might be in the majority.
Exactly. Exactly. Even though they're in the majority, they've not been politically sensitized. Just like, we in this country got sensitized, to our rights. Say, hey, we can go to the same schools, we pay the same taxation and all that. Yeah, most of the blacks in diaspora have not been so politically sensitized. And because they lack the political muscle, or even the financial resources to do anything, because the government in most of those societies control the economy.
Okay.
And it's not like our economy that's almost in private hands. Big corporations can donate to any agitator they want, they support here. But in those countries, the government controls the resources.
Okay.
So in order for you to be effective as an agitator, one way or the other, you have to knuckle a little bit to the government.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're a newspaper publisher, okay, say, well, hey, you have to start agitating. The government can cut off the print.
Okay.
You won't get no print for your paper. If you're a TV station, they can shut it down, without going through any legal process. Yeah, so it makes it difficult for people who really want to oppose the government to do it, ferociously and with zeal.
And be successful in doing so.
That's correct.
You see,
without thinking of the financial and other consequences of it. All jobs come from the government.
All right.
Okay, they might retaliate, say, well, all your family will throw them away from job. So that might serve as a deterrent against people who want to oppose the government. See, so we were more successful here because we had the resources.
Okay.
There were, well-meaning corporations and business people who saw that, it's in their interest for African Americans to have their rights. It's a good business idea for there to be peace and stability so they can benefit. And you can see the corporations played a vital role here in the changes. Nobody can deny that. A lot of the funding to LCLC and all this came from corporations.
Okay.
So it enabled them to have the resources to fight. In these other countries, they don't have those resources available to fight the government because government controls almost 90% of the resources because the economies are mixed in a way, what they call mixed economy.
Well, now, it seems to me that this is a terrible waste of human resources, Dr. Madu, is it not? I mean, you've excluded millions and half millions of people in various countries from participating in the social, economic, and political development of a country. Is that not a terrible waste of resources, human resources?
Absolutely, absolutely. In South America alone, you have about between 150 to 200 million, Africans who live. Like I said before, Brazil alone has about 90 million. So this is a huge, waste of human resource that needs to be tapped. But the only way I think, changes can come quicker, is if the government becomes more democratized. Not just political democracy. Voting is one thing. Controlling the means of production and resources is another.
Very good.
So that's one way the Africans in diaspora can prosper when they start sharing in the economy of those countries where they live, control the resources, or be part of, the group that controls the resources. Then they could be able to fight for their rights effectively.
And so you think that Africans in the United States has had a tremendous opportunity over some of the others, primarily because of their ability to agitate and to become politically sensitive to all of these things. Is that what we're saying?
Absolutely, and because of education, because of education and resources. In most of these other countries, most of the Africans are not educated at all, almost 3/4 of them. So you don't have that powerful middle class that we had in this country to lead any kind of revolt. And most of the time, most revolutions are led by the middle class. They're led by the middle class.
And really, for all practical purposes, there are no black middle classes as such in many of these countries.
Absolutely, absolutely. In most of these countries, you don't have what you call really a strong black middle class.
And of course, Dr. Madu, we're ending this show for today, and I just want to thank you for bringing up, for reminding us, because I think that so many of us simply see the Africans in America, in the United States, and we think that that is a condition of Africans everywhere. If we are aware that there are other Africans everywhere, and I think that this show will go quite a way in determining where Africans are. And of course, let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.